This is why players go out and form super teams. This is why players go out and form dynamic duos. This is why players go out and form big threes in the NBA. If you're a player like Devin Booker, if you're a player like Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, if you're a player like karl-Anthony Towns, and you're in these situations where you are great individually, but your team struggles and your team doesn't really have the types of success that other great NBA players have who are on better situations or on better teams than you are, then you have to figure out what do you want to do. Do you want to be a type of player that's going to stay with a franchise for your almost your entire career to your end of your prime to make a whole bunch of money, to have all these maybe accolades, to put up all these empty points or empty stats, like some people like to say? Or are you going to be a player that takes control of your own destiny and go out and leave some money on the table and go out and sign in free agency to go play with one of your buddies or go play with another superstar? This is the dilemma that these players have to face. And that's why a lot of people got mad at Anthony Davis, because he kind of cheated the system. He signed his big contract and then he forced his way out of New Orleans. And this is probably the move that most of these great star players who don't get the credit they deserve is going to have to do. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, karl-Anthony Towns, all these players are going to have to figure out how can they get to their preferred location or get to play with players that can actually help them win a championship. I said a long time ago that Devin Booker, when he first got drafted to the Phoenix Suns, that man, it really sucks for Devin Booker because I knew he was an extraordinary talent. Then he went on to show how great of a player he is. He's yet to reach the playoffs in 5 seasons. He's yet to be an All-Star in 5 seasons. Devin Booker is probably going to demand a trade either next year or the year after, or once his contract is over with, he's going to leave the Phoenix Suns, especially since they can't attract talent. And that's what a lot of these smaller markers can't do. They can't attract talent. They can't get players to come and play with these star players who are in these locations like Minnesota, like Phoenix, and even so like DC as well, because of the front office and the organization. Even the Chicago Bulls to a lesser degree with Zach LaVine, even though it's a bigger market, people do not want to go and play in the city of Chicago. So what do? You have to force your way out. You have to make a trade, to demand a trade. You have to try to get players and try to recruit. But we see with LeBron James, who is one of the greatest basketball players of all time, when he first played with the Cleveland Cavaliers, that was his problem. None of the players that he tried to recruit wanted to come play with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And he's LeBron James. And he was taking teams to the finals. He was 23 years old taking the Cleveland Cavaliers to the NBA Finals. And still, he couldn't get players to come and play with them. And all those guys I mentioned, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, karl-Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, they're not LeBron James. So if LeBron James couldn't get players to come and play with him and with the Cleveland Cavaliers, what do you think these players are going to be able to do? So that's why I say Devin Booker is probably going to force a trade. karl-Anthony Towns is probably going to get frustrated and eventually force a trade. And we know Bradley Beal got his money and signed an extension, but that was more so making sure he secured his bag. He's probably going to go out and force a trade and demand a trade as well. I see no problem with it. A lot of these players get frustrated, the NBA gets upset, and these coaches get upset when these players demand these trades, but then these same coaches do not select these players to go into the All-Star game. These same players miss out on millions of dollars because they have certain incentives in their contract where they can make additional $10 to $15 million a year if they make the All NBA first team or the All NBA, All second team NBA, defensive teams, offensive teams, all those good things. And sometimes these guys don't do it because their team is not winning, even though their game says that they should be in the All Star game. Their game says they should be on some of these All NBA teams as well. And it's just really frustrating to some of these players. And I feel for them. I feel for the Devin Bookers of the world. I feel for the karl-Anthony Towns of the world. And I hate how the narrative is always pushed to these guys that they're not winners. They put up empty stats. They're doing all these things on a poor team, but we don't know how they would be in these better situations. If you watch the game of basketball and you see how talented these players are, like the Devin Bookers of the world, like the karl-Anthony Towns of the world, you know for a fact that these players are stars. You know for a fact that these players can do what they're doing in any other team if they were in a better situation, and it would show. And that's why I hope that these players demand trades. I hope these players get out of these bad situations because it's so unfair to them, because they get these narratives thrown on them that they can't win. And then when they are putting up these incredible numbers, people are saying it's empty stats. So I feel bad for the players that are in these smaller markets or in these bad team situations and they can't get out of it because they gotta pick, do they want their money or do they want to win? And then when they go and make these decisions, like, okay, I'm gonna go leave this team, I'm gonna go sign and play with another superstar player or big three, big two, and then people kind of criticize them. But you can't have it both ways. You can't prioritize winning as the end all be all, but then sit up and say, well, we want you to stay with your franchise. We want you to stay with the OKC Thunder. We want you to stay with the Phoenix Suns and Sacramento Kings and all these low market teams, and nobody is coming to play with these individuals. So, like I said, it's a kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't situation for a lot of these players. But hopefully, these players like Devin Booker, Karl-Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, even Bradley Beal, they go out and kind of try to create their own destiny and try to demand a trade and try to get paired on a better team so they can be in a better situation. They can also showcase their talent because a lot of these players that I mentioned are vastly underrated and people sleep on them because of their team is not having the type of success that other teams are having. And even, I'll say this, even though the Milwaukee Bucks are doing fantastic, are doing well, and Giannis is playing like a top five player in the NBA, and the Milwaukee Bucks may have the best regular season record at the end of the year, but if they do not go out and reach the finals, and Giannis is a free agent the following summer, they're going to have a Giannis is going to have a kind of a tough decision to make. Is he going to be one of those players like a Kevin Garnett or LeBron James that stays with an organization for years and they can't get you to the right talent to win a championship, or is he going to take his destiny into his own hands like LeBron did when he left the Cleveland Cavaliers and went to South Beach? That's something Giannis is going to have to figure out. It's okay right now when you're winning and stuff like that, but as soon as the playoffs come, if you don't make it to the finals, you don't never win the finals, and this organization can't attract talent, then what are you going to do? And that's just something to keep an eye on with Giannis and also with the Devin Bookers of the world, the Bradley Beals of the world, Zach LaVines of the world, the Karl-Anthony Towns of the world as well.